Am I wrong for telling my mom that she's insane for trying to get pregnant again? For context, I, 22 male, have 2 siblings, 22 female and 23 female. And I am the youngest twin, but we are all adults now. This all started a few years ago when my oldest sister got pregnant with my nephew. It was the first baby of our generation, and of course everyone was overjoyed it was a boy because they are so rare in the family. I won't sugarcoat it. My sister was spoiled during her pregnancy. She was driven to all of her doctor's appointments. Nearly every day someone was buying something new. With every craving, someone was ready to go get it, and she even had 2 baby showers. When my nephew was born, it was the happiest my family had been since my grandma died. My mom, however, wasn't. Every time someone would do something for my sister, she expected it for herself. I remember I bought my sister a pedicure and paid extra for a foot massage, and my mother was pissed at me for days for not getting her one. "I'm the baby's grandma," she would say constantly. We all ignored her for the sake of my nephew. Well, my mom just recently sat me and my siblings down and explained how she wanted to try getting pregnant again. She wasn't asking for our opinion, more like informing us that it was going to happen. My sister was excited for someone who could be a playmate for her son. My twin was hesitant and I was livid. For privacy reasons, I won't give my mother's medical history, but just that is enough for concern, not to mention the fact that she's 40 plus years old. I asked her how she planned to live if she couldn't work while pregnant, as my father had never been in the picture. Well, one of my kids shouldn't mind taking care of me. I asked her how she planned to take care of a baby when she's back to work. Someone in the family can babysit. I asked her how she planned on buying baby stuff because she's not good with saving money at all. Everyone will pitch in for the baby like they did with your sister. And no, they wouldn't. My mom has burned quite a lot of bridges for her emotional immaturity. Well, I can see why. And one very high-risk pregnancy will not change that. Not to mention the fact that my siblings and I were raised by our grandparents because she couldn't. So I sat her down and tried to explain how this would be a terrible idea for everyone involved. But she got upset and started yelling about how I need to be supportive and I'm just jealous because I won't be the youngest anymore. I let my emotions get ahead of me and I called her insane and left. My siblings and family have called to tell me that I need to apologize and that I was way out of line. I don't have to like her trying for another baby, but I need to be supportive, which I feel like would be the case if we were talking about literally anyone else, but nobody else thinks the same. So, am I the asshole? For more info, I don't know how my mom intends to get pregnant. She wouldn't be approved for IVF and she's never had a consistent relationship. My guess is that she's just planning on sleeping around. Also, she's 43 going on 44. My guess is she's counting on the "it takes a village" mindset to help her with a child. My sister got special treatment for being pregnant because 1, she was having a boy, 2, because she was busting her ass as a single mother, student, and working full-time, and 3, her baby's father was a piece of shit who dipped. I hired an escort for my brother with Down syndrome last month. I don't regret it and he still smiles about it. I'm 30 and my little brother is 24. He's honestly the best brother I could have asked for. I still remember the day he was born and holding my newborn baby brother when I was a kid. As we grew up, I always knew he was different, but he's my brother and I love him and I wouldn't change him. He's honestly one of my best friends, and having a brother with Down syndrome, especially one like him, has made me a better person. Last month, my parents went out of town for a few days and they asked if I'd stay with my brother and take care of the house. While he might have Down syndrome, he's not entirely helpless. He just can't really be on his own like that. So of course I agreed and brought my PS5 over and some games, snacks, and beer, and I called out of work for a few days and figured we'd have some fun just like when we were kids. We were having a great time and were talking their first day while taking turns playing Elden Ring, and my brother started the game and got to the part where the guy calls you maidenless. And I said something like, "Ooh, he called you maidenless, bro? Damn." And my brother got super sad looking and I asked him what was wrong and he said, "I am maidenless. I'll never have a girlfriend." So we talked about that for a bit and he was actually feeling super depressed because he's never had a girlfriend and didn't think he ever would. We kind of talked it out and he was really sad and I decided, fuck it, we can find him a girl. I called a couple of people I knew who were into that sort of thing to see if they knew anyone. "You have people on your what?" Well, one of my buddies had a number of this girl, so I gave her a call. She was actually super sweet and understanding about the situation, and she said she'd be glad to show my brother a good time for her usual rate. She had a cousin with Down syndrome, so she was very sympathetic. I told my brother I'd paid a girl to come over and show him some fun on the condition that our parents will die without knowing I hired a prostitute to come to their house. He agreed. So I made plans for her to come over, got my brother shaved, and showered for his date. She showed up dressed up super nice and she was also super hot. I'm no chef, but I had picked up some food from Olive Garden for them. She was a genuinely nice person and was really good with him, and I just left them to do their thing while I played the PlayStation in the living room. Eventually they passed by, going upstairs to his room. I put my headphones on and kept playing. Eventually, they came back down and both had big smiles on their faces. She hung out with us a bit, then it was time for her to go. I handed her the cash plus some extra as a bonus. She said my brother was a sweetheart and that I was a good brother to do something like that for him and that she had a good time. She handed me back half the cash. Eventually, my parents came back and thankfully are none the wiser, as my mother especially would probably kill me. My brother is super appreciative and said it was the most fun he'd ever had. I have no regrets. Am I wrong for getting a hotel room for my daughter entirely for herself after her stepsisters made her sleep on the floor? My dad passed away 2 weeks ago. Me, my wife Candace, and my daughter 16, Shiloh, and her stepsisters 19 and 17 flew to my hometown to attend the funeral. After that, we got 2 hotel rooms, one for me and Candace and one for the girls. While I was in the room, I got a call from Shiloh at 11 p.m. crying and sounded like she was arguing with her stepsisters. I asked her what the matter was, and she told me that her stepsisters insisted that she sleep on the floor. There was one large bed in the room and there was enough space for all 3 girls to sleep on. I asked why and she said she didn't know. I went to see what the issue was and talk with my stepdaughters about it. They kept talking but didn't really explain why they told her to sleep on the floor. They just shrugged and said, "It's better this way. We're more comfortable this way." I told Shiloh to grab her things, and when one of my stepdaughters asked where we were going, I told her I was booking her a hotel room. Both looked upset but didn't say anything, but they must have called their mom because she was awake when I got back and started arguing with me about giving Shiloh an entire hotel room for herself. I explained why I did it, but she said I wasted money and that Shiloh could have sucked it up for one night on the floor. I called her unreasonable for this, but she told me I showed the girls that I'm playing favorites and made my stepdaughter share a room while I gave my daughter the entire room for herself. We went home and Candace is still breaking up saying I mishandled this. She even pointed out how my stepdaughters are upset since they're not speaking to me. Edit. It was Candace who got a room for all 3 girls as to not stir any drama and save money. She was in charge of hotel reservations since I was emotionally distressed. Also, Candace did not expect Shiloh to sleep on the floor. She wanted all 3 girls to share the bed. If she wanted all 3 girls to share the bed, why did she say Shiloh should just suck it up and sleep on the floor? Why don't you sleep on the floor and give her your spot on the bed? Go sleep with— oh my god, this post makes me so mad. I don't even want to give my opinion on it. Ew, 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 ew. For those who are calling me an asshole for giving my daughter her name, her mom did that and she's deceased, so please let's not focus on that. And also, I've known my stepdaughters since they were little. We're pretty much family and Candace is a stay-at-home mom, but I give her full access to my money since this stuff was already discussed beforehand. Pretty much everything was. Am I wrong for pretending not to recognize my parents when they try to reconnect? I was raised mostly by my uncle and aunt. My older sister developed a serious illness when I was 6, and my parents decided that they couldn't care for both of us, I guess. So they kind of unceremoniously dumped me at my grandparents and my uncle took me in. Like, didn't even explain to me what was going on. Just, you're going to visit Gran for a while and never picked me back up. My grandparents and uncle explained it later, and they were pretty livid at my parents. I've seen my parents maybe 5 times since then, and not at all for the last 9 years. I decided to stop having contact with them when I was 12, and since I was the only one reaching out, all communication broke down. It turned out okay. I love my aunt and uncle, and it turns out that they can have kids, so they've always said I'm their miracle child. I was just misrouted by the stork at first. I was formally adopted by them when I turned 18. I wish it had been earlier, but there was some red tape things that would have made that really expensive and difficult. I'm 21 now. I'm blown away by the fact that your parents literally gave up their 6-year-old child. That— I don't have words for that. I don't know how to explain. What the fudge? My sister passed away between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I made a trip back from school for the funeral. But I stayed in the back and left before my bio parents could talk to me. They called my uncle to try to talk to me, but I said I didn't want to, so he told them that I wasn't available at the moment. They finally caught up to me over Christmas when I went to midnight mass with my grandma and approached me and tried to give me a hug. I did recognize them, but I pretended not to and just backed off and said, "Sorry, do I know you?" They said, "We're your parents." And I said, "My parents are at home," and went and sat down with my grandma. They sat behind us and I could feel the stare. And on the way out, they were like, "You really don't recognize us?" And I said, "Oh, are you my dad's brother? I think I remember you from when I was little." My grandma thinks they deserved it, trying to come back to me like nothing happened. But they wrote me a long letter about how hurt they were and that I should understand that they were trying to do the right thing and how they'll always be my parents and I can't change that. Well, legally, you did. So there's that. Other family members think I was too harsh as they're grieving, but I don't think they should get a pass just because they remembered me now that my sister is gone.